Let me ask you this question. I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, to an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is disrespectful.
It is their right. Yes.
A right, the right that someone has. All of our rights exist in context.
What is the context of a second medical opinion?
Because you're disrespecting the process.
No.
Jesus, this is common sense, man.
Any situation which you seem to do, you're just dealing with Afro-Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing. And if two, you can't put forward a vision, a blueprint, and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Pleasant Wednesday evening to you, or wherever you are based in different time zones. Good morning, good afternoon. This is Frederick Kissoon along with Leonard Craig, and we bring to you a program that has been running more than 3 years now, 3 times weekly, the Freddie Kissoon Show. Let me start my introductory remarks, then I'll bring in the man of the moment, Leonard Craig. I am old and fading now. Guyana belongs to people like Leonard Craig. So, my preliminary remarks. Over the decades, I've met several people, not 1 or 2 or 5 and 6, that would say to me, Freddie, how can you write a column a day? How do you do that? And I have a Pavlovian reaction, always. It's an automatic reaction. Are you joking? I could do 2 a day. This is Guyana. Yes, this is Guyana, where you can do 2 columns a day because of the cascading events that render the events of yesterday dated. Now, I have a notebook in which I jot down all the columns I'm supposed to do. And do you know, if I show you that notebook, half of the intended columns have not been done and they have become dated. That is because you sit down and you say, tomorrow you will do the bridge. And then something happened in Barbies and you have to do it. And instead of going back to the bridge, something happens in Regent Street or something happened with the opposition and you can't do the bridge. So when you look back another month, the story of the bridge is dated. So I had my column for Monday all set. And my wife wanted rum and raisin ice cream, so I went over to Massey Supermarket for rum and raisin. I saw Finance rum and raisin that comes in a nice tub that you can use forever. We normally buy that, so we have plenty Finance ice cream tubs. Then I saw Trinidad rum and raisin creamery. 1 liter creamery rum and raisin for $1,400. 1 liter Finance rum and raisin for $1,600. And 1 pint, not 1 liter, 1 pint of rum and raisin from Bankside, which is $1,900. Now, what do you call to that? What do you call to that? I don't know. Craig will have to come in on that, but how could you buy 1 pint of local ice cream that will cost you $600 more, and the 2 foreign ice cream is 1 liter? So that was my column on Monday. My point is, there are things that come in the way, and so your column that you intended to do is lost, probably lost forever. So I have my column for Thursday coming up. And then I saw something in the papers and I said, I have to write a column on this. You see what happens? Now look at this. This is what I want to discuss, and then we'll hear Leonard Craig's views. This is today's Chronicle for Wednesday, August the 19th. It's V-Pac Dorwain Bess questions Mohammed motives in corruption claims, call for evidence-based investigations. I want to put it up for a couple of seconds because I think what Dorwain Bess did here, he may have gone in a direction that was long needed and that could have made this country's political culture less savage, less vultured, and more accommodating. Did you see the headline there? Hear what Dorwain Bess is saying in this article. Now, don't get Bess wrong. Bess is anti-PPP, anti-government yesterday, today, and will be so tomorrow. But hear what Bess is saying about Azwaddin Mohammed. He said, look, we all belong to the opposition. And if you can have credibility as opposition, you have to say things that are evidence-based and that have credibility. You just can't fly your mouth wide like that. It is not in keeping with opposition politics. Bess is simply saying, you lose credibility when you become a wild man. This is what has happened to our country with the opposition. They just say wild things and they have lost credibility, including the two newspapers, Skycho News, Starbuck News, now Kiskadi Watch, and all of them. You allow some accommodation with the government when you behave sanely and you behave credibly, and so the government comes to see you in a different light, and maybe there's some accommodation. Bess is saying that Azwaddin Mohammed made some claims against the president's brother, or the president's brother as a company, and the company getting contract. And Bess said, no, I gotta get in on this. This is corruption. Bess said when he went and examined the evidence, the president's brother owns no company. So he's saying, look, man, we as opposition got to do better than this. I say to myself, Dorwain Bess, good for you. And I hope this sets the tone for a new direction. It could only help Guyana's culture. Leonard Craig.
Good evening again, everyone. Freddie, I did not know you were going to talk about that, and I got it on my list here. Not specifically that topic, but something similar. And I wanted to start with Kiskadi Watch got a headline that says Nigel Dharamlal,
yes, I read it,
appears in
Region 9.
In Region 9 on a government program, and this is the term they use. It's a slap in the face of the nation. It's a slap in the face. Now follow me here. And I've said on this program already, and I'm going to say it again. What we in Guyana call comrades. So you're in the same party, you work on behalf of the party, you call the other person comrade. And Nigel Dharamlal would be a comrade of mine. And though he is a comrade of mine, I am not here to defend any of his actions in the past, because I don't dare with Nigel there. Right? I'm being straight up with you. However, certain accusations were there, and they were not brought to court in the opinion of the DPP because of insufficient evidence. Right? But the allegations were serious enough for the president to ask Dharamlal as a minister then to, you know, resign because what have you. That happens. My question is, how many times do you punish somebody for an action that has insufficient evidence? How many times do you punish somebody? You fire the man from his job. You know, how many times do you punish him? That's one. So is he not entitled to work? No, I've never seen
His life must be destroyed.
Apparently, right? And then I'm moving one step further now to say I've never seen Kiskadi what says Azruddin Mohammed occupation of a constitutional office when so much is hanging over him. When he is, I've never seen anybody in Kiskadi what says that is a slap in the face. So Azruddin Mohammed got international serious criminal offenses attached to his name.
Alleged.
That's what I'm saying, attached to his name that is in the courts. And that is not a slap in the face that he is holding constitutional office. Nigel Darmlad is merely being seen.
He's a clerk.
Associating with government officials on a trip. He's just associating, you know, he's not holding high constitutional office. But that is a slap in the face. But Azruddin Mohammed coming out every day, stand up in front of some place and say, this is what corruption looks like. And that is not a slap in the face. Now, there is something in the law that says, like, for example, if you go to give evidence in a courtroom, one of the first things the lawyer on the opposite side will do is give an integrity test. Because if you're coming to give evidence in a courtroom, you gotta have integrity. So you can't be no little dirty criminal scrapehead around the place and just show up and just talking in court. And that's exactly what Azruddin Mohammed is doing. He's just showing up somewhere and pull out a boogeyman out of a cupboard and say, hey, look, you see a jumbie? You see this jumbie right down here? And that is not a slap in the face. That's all this guy is doing. That's all this guy is doing. And Dorwain Bess needs to be applauded because in this case, I think Dorwain Bess is representing a certain...
Hey.
Come with corruption allegations. Come with something substantial. Come with documentation that we can take to the police, that we can take to the court, that we can, you know. I am not the typical person to say, dismiss corruption by saying, produce the evidence. Simply just do that. Obviously, you got to produce the evidence. And not all forms of corruption have evidential materials. But it has to, there's a definition in the law for corruption. And you have to meet the basic threshold at the very least. You have to meet the basic threshold. And I believe that all these people, except the president, I think a president has to absorb a lot of criticism. The president got to absorb sometimes some lies even without going to sue unless it goes really too far, right? I wouldn't advise a president to run and sue people. You know, you're president, you accede to high office, you got absorb some amount of blows, right? But everybody else that Azudin is attacking, I think they should just sue him. Just tie him up in court and and I've always said I want to live in a country where you can question corruption. But I don't want to live in a country where wild men just running around and shouting, this is what corruption looks like, based on any minor evidence or any minor seeming evidence. And it's not something I support, and I applaud Dorwain on this occasion.
Well, I want to continue with Dorwain thing, but he said something about Kiskadee Watch that has proven me correct over the decades when I put pen to paper. Now, Kiskadee Watch, you heard what you saw and heard what Leonard Quek said, that employing Dharam Lal is a slap in the face of the nation. That is an editorial. That's a front page story.
But it's not just employing. He just show up at an occasion. They have no proof that he's employed. But even if he's employed, yeah, right.
So that's a slap in it. That's Kiskadee Watch, which is the continuation of Starbuck News. Everybody that was associated with Starbuck News gone over the Kiskadee Watch. The editor is Anand Prasad. That was Starbuck News. And that was what I was saying about Starbuck News last year, the year before that. And therefore, I was mentally stunned that when this paper folded up because of financial reason, people began to say, oh, it's a paper of record, oh, it's this, that. What Leonard Quek just said about how they treat Azudin Mohammed in monarchical fashion and ridicule Dharam Lal. That was Starbuck News. And up to this day, I cannot reconcile myself with people who could watch of what this paper had become and talk about, oh, we're sorry it's gone out. The Starbuck News lives on in the Kiskadee Watch. And there's never been an editorial saying, no, this guy should reconsider holding the position as opposition leader. This guy is not facing charges from the DPP, from the Office of the Police Commissioner, the American Customs, the American
FBI and
Justice Department, the Homeland Security Department has a file on this man that may involve serious crimes within the American system, colleaguing with the Venezuelans for illegal export of gold.
And connections in the Middle East. This is not an easy...
This is not the Guyana government.
Child's play matter, you know.
So the United States says, listen, we want this man for serious violation, criminal violation of United States laws involving gold and monies. And the Starbuck News have never said, no man, you can't be opposition leader. That doesn't look good for Guyana. Never said it. But Dharam Lal appearing somewhere is a slap in the face of the nation. But who says so? The Kiskadee Watch says so. You go around and put a mic to people and ask them, and they will say, Dharam who? Where he working? What he did? They and the opposition and civil society believe what they say reverberates in Guyana. If people were so enamored, embracing of the Starbuck News and saw the Starbuck News as the only outlet for we can understand what the government is doing, it would have been a rush to keep it going to support him. Till people weren't buying the newspaper, advertisers in the private sector were going elsewhere. So what was the big golden crown that Starbuck wore on its head. It didn't. It was the emperor's used clothes. So the Starbuck went out.
The emperor used clothes?
The emperor's new clothes. He thought he had new clothes. Starbuck and so many people think that they speak for Guyana. You read what the Guyana Human Rights Association say. You read what Transparency International Guyana Institute say. You would believe that when you go to the bus park, you go to the supermarket, you go to the market, people know who is Transparency. Oh, those are the people that keep Guyana going. We gotta read those people. Nobody knows about them.
Yep.
And they would say, Guyana is waiting to see what the government does. The people, who are the people? We just had a little group, 3-4 people from UG, calling themselves We the People. And the first thing they said, we're not political.
We the Generation Z.
But I've got, we are non-political. I will show you what they did 3 days ago that makes them very, very political. This is the society we live in. This is the society we live in now. One of the politicians I have a better appreciation for is Dr. Mark Fans. I think he has a less toxic, a less volcanic attitude to government politics than the rest of them. And yet he came here last week and he used the word a majority of Guyanese. And of course you let it pass because you know France is not a venomous politician. But how do you know what a majority of Guyanese want? You could only test that by going on the fields, recording people for days, holding polls. So the Kiskadee Watch, the Kaicho News talk about what the people want. You should find out how the people think about the owner of Kaicho News.
And since you're on the topic, let me bring something out of the president's press conference. The president made a comment that it probably flew over a lot of people's head, people think. But the president made a comment. He said, when a question was asked about Azruddin's accusation of his farm, he said, look, I provide my facts, but then he went on to talk about an interview that was done before. I'm sure he is referring to the interview done by Travis Chase, where the person who made the allegation apologized and the news reporter repudiated his own news. And the president said, look, when the allegation was made, all of these people put this thing on front page. And when the apology was made, they didn't even carry it. And that tells you where the balance is. And I don't believe these people are interested in carrying balanced news. I don't think they're an extension. And I heard the editor-in-chief or owner of Kiskadee, Mr. Anand Prasad, mentioned that, Stabrook News helped the opposition or something to that effect, as because of the weakness of the opposition and the robust reporting and investigative reporting of the Stabrook News, it kind of replaced the opposition. So really what they're saying to us is that they are opposition outfit and they don't care to be balanced. They don't care to be balanced. And that is the issue that we face today. And it was stark in that example that the president gave. Somebody made an allegation, no verification. It's just talking points that men would talk in a rum shop, and the news agencies just carry it Wild West. Then the man come back and apologize. The person who did the recording and the reporting also withdraw it. And all of these people who carried it in the headlines never came back and report in a similar manner that an apology was given. And that is the nature of some of the people who do reporting that we have to face. And for people who are watching, it comes down to you having sense to evaluate. And I'm going to transition into saying that the opposition and the very Asruddin Mohammed will eventually lose support. It looks now like he's in the ascendancy and he's generating interests and comments on Facebook, but that's not voting. That's one. And two, when you go and, for example, like you run down like one of the hospitals, the president at the press conference spoke about how much service the hospitals gave, how many surgeries they did and all of that. And then he pointed out, yes, some of the hospitals got issues, but it is not the norm. It is more an anomaly when these issues come up. And the people who use the services, those 3,000 and plus surgeries at a specific hospital and so on, when those people go and they see you, the opposition, demonizing this hospital every day, and that is the hospital that gave them service, they and their family who were serviced by the hospital will know that you are a liar. And eventually, over time, people are not going to pay attention to you because they know you're rumor mongering and you're blowing things out of proportion. And don't underrate 3,000 people, 3,000 surgeries provided. That 3,000 has impacted at least 3 other people each. That is 9,000. Translate that into votes. When you go and you lie about these things and you blow it out of proportion, 9,000 votes you're impacting just like that. And you gotta be careful. And when you touch the different fields, you go into the little agriculture area, you go on and talk about something else, you're impacting 5 and 10 and 15 people and an extension in their family and among their friends. And people will eventually come to understand that you're blowing out of proportion, and if that is the basis for your politics, when it comes time for voting, you're going to lose. You're going to always lose. And if I could go back to the Dorwain Bess approach, that approach is better for you as an opposition because people will say, you know what happened? This man got a conscience. I could listen to this man because this man, and you can get people from the other side of the aisle to listen to you or to try to internalize what you say. Otherwise, if you just run and you just scream into the top of your head, there's that corruption, there's that without proof, hospital leaking, there's that and all of that. For little matters, when people are looking at the bigger picture, you're going to lose credibility and you're going to lose respect. And so it's just a matter of time with Asruddin, just a matter of time. And people still have to vote.
Well, as we're on Asruddin, I wanted to move on to something GBTI has done, which shows which highlights class differences in Ghana. But just before I go into that, as you're on topic of Asruddin, I think anti-government civil society people, the anti-government press and the opposition, I think they have not a clue as to what is the demographic makeup of this country. What are people like? How do people think? Because when you can say these outlandish things, when the Kaicho News and Starbucks News could publish these outlandish things, don't they realize you have hundreds of thousands of persons that look at you and say, no man, why are you saying that? That is the indecent thing to do. And if you continue like that, do not contest elections. I would think that AFC, the PNC, and other political parties, if they want to continue on that regime, a regime of absurdity, a regime of fictionalizing everything, do not contest elections, because it's going to affect you and you are going to lose, and you're going to perpetually lose, because hundreds of thousands of people don't think you are all right, don't think you're there, and think you talk nonsense all the time. There is a direct correlation of the PNC losing votes and David Hines' pantomime and masquerade every day. Now, the PPP, I am sure, welcome David Hines doing that every day, because the PPP knows that come election time, people are going to frown on him and the party he belongs to. So it's all right for the Kiskadee Watch, Starbucks News, Kaicho News to say these things. It's not all right for the AFC, for the PNC, and Amanda Walton to say those things, because they are contesting elections. And Dorwain Bess has gone in a direction that if they follow him, you're going to have an interesting 3-year period coming up. Because what Dorwain Bess has said to the Guyanese people, man, look, I am a critic of the PPP. Don't get me wrong. I think corruption is going on in this place. I think the PPP is this, PPP is that. But I want, as an opposition personality, to do the right thing and maintain my credibility and my integrity. And that is the way to go. The Kiskadee Watch, the Guyana Human Rights Association, Transparency, they can say any absurdity, any degenerate thing.
They don't have to face the
They
electorate.
are not facing the electorate. So I would say to Terence Campbell, to the AFC, and to Amanda Walton Deserve, look at what Dorwain Bess has done and try to emulate him. It doesn't mean that you're PPP. Dorwain Bess is not PPP. Tomorrow he's going to say something about the government. He's just saying, I am shaping opposition politics that can maximize opposition output. Isn't that commonsensical? I'm going to go on to what GBTI did after Leonard Craig.
All right, so you mentioned David Hines. David Hines said we call his name on every program we have. David Hines, let me say this to you. There are two parties in opposition. The PNC, the historic PNC, which is the greater partner in APNU to which you belong, and a fly-by-night flash in the pan, knock up thing called Win. And myself and Freddie, we're saying this to you, I'm saying this to you. Both of us prefer that it was the PNC.
Yes, of course. That had got,
we prefer that it was the PNC that got 16 or 28 or 20 something seats.
Of course. Close my eyes and say
so we are trying to help you.
He got to pay you though.
Because you are one of the proponents who speak every day and you got a megaphone. And we are seeing from afar off that you're going down the wrong path, and we are trying to assist you. But when it comes to these things, I'm about to say, but the man head hard. I don't want to say that. The man is a professor. But, David, we call in your name because we have a preference for the PNC as the larger and better party in opposition. That is the only reason, and we believe you are destroying that capacity that the PNC and its outfit APNU has. And probably that is why we calling your name. Not because we like you or we think you whatever. You are actually making Asruddin look like a star boy. That's what you're doing. Now, since we are on that, David Hines interviewed Adams, Vincent Adams. And Vincent Adams, who's a Linden man, said, gone into this racist thing, say that the PPP is using black people against black people.
But Adams said that?
Yes, he said that. And he said, Linden is an example when the vice president was there the other day, and the people broke the barricade and walking in. The people who line up on the step in their red jersey, in their red t-shirt, were all black people. Freddie, what's the population of Linden? You expect to go to Linden and meet Indian PPP representative to line a step? It got to be Africans. And the people who are protesting got to be mostly Africans too, because it's Linden you're in.
It's 98%
And Adams, you're being disingenuous, stupid and not factual. For
but
example,
he doesn't live here, since the election he's gone.
Right. For example, when Asruddin Mohammed during the election campaign, when Asruddin Mohammed torn up in some of those riverine area, was what kind of people confronted him? Not Amerindians? What PPP support base were Amerindians when he showed up in those Amerindian reservations. It was Amerindians who confronted him. What are you talking about black people and black people in Linden? And when Asruddin Mohammed went to certain places in quarantine, were big, powerful East Indian women that stood up to him and said, no, we're not allowing you in our community. And when Asruddin was talking, it was Indian women and men who were shouting to the top of their voice because he was in Port Moran and those villages. Oh my God, if he got to Linden, it's who got to line the steps, man? Come on, man. Oh, not everything got to be so deep and dark with racism, man. Come on, man. Tell the truth. And again, that is what I'm saying. That's what the tone of today's program. When you are more realistic and you paint the truth of the picture, that is what people appreciate, and that's what lean people to listen to you for the purpose of voting. When people listen to David Hines, they come in there for lyrics. It's just lyrics they're coming for. For here, what is the next lyrics David got? Not listening for the purpose of voting.
Could it also be entertainment?
That's what lyrics mean.
Yeah.
Lyrics mean entertainment.
Because he did a program that then he called, I think it's this week, and he said, I can devastate him. I come on the program and I can assault him, not
talking
physically,
about you?
Yeah, politically. When I done with him, he's a political bitch. And I would take on the program and devastate him. But the man is a clown, he wouldn't come.
No, he wouldn't. I'm telling you, he wouldn't.
But I go on his program if he invite me.
Yeah,
I don't have Zoom facilities. I'm not a modern technological man. But if he comes with his camera and sit down in the Garden of National Park, I will debate him because I have nothing to hide. And secondly, I never contested the election and failed.
Talk about GBTI before we move on, because that to me that's important, and I want us to get that in quickly.
Yeah. I wanted to get this in the program, and we got sidelined by a lot of things. Now, this what I'm about to say doesn't make sense to me in this country, and I've lived in this country my whole life, and somebody has to explain it to me, because this is not my politics. And I don't see class politics that way. And when class politics evolve that way, I am very depressed about it. GBTI have initiated a whole set of changes for services the bank offer people. And for saving accounts, GBTI will deduct $200 every month for the fact that you have an account there. They call it maintenance. Now, originally banking was that you take your money, put it safely instead of keeping it out in a bank, and the bank will take that money and invest it. And because they do that, they give you quarterly or annual interest. So the premise on which banking was founded is that you're safer to have your money in the bank, and you're allowing investment climate to flourish because the bank's going to take that money and invest it. GBTI has turned that concept on its head. You now have to pay them
the bank to keep your money.
To keep your money, and those billions that are in saving accounts are what they use
to make loans and so
right.
on. Yeah.
So that now listen to this. Listen to me, and you're going to see the shocking part. Maybe that is their way of doing things, and maybe I don't have a problem with that. Here is what I have a problem with. A bank that consistently earns billions of dollars of profit and publish it in their annual report can charge their customers $200 for having their money in the bank. But a minibus owner cannot charge $100 more, and the speedboat owner cannot charge $100 more. How could that be right?
Yeah.
In natural law, in
Yeah.
any type of law?
Yeah.
The speedboat owner is saying, the basket of goods I bought last year, right? I could only buy half of that. And who knows that? Me, Frederick Kissoon, I know that because from a pin that you use for pin something together, a simple pin, to a screwdriver, to gasoline, to a comb, to a plate of lunch in the restaurant, everything has gone up. I know this because I do the shopping. I know what the goods that have gone up from last year. Every produce I bought, from provision, fruits, a simple screwdriver you gone in. My battery, my car battery can't count. It was 18,000 when I bought it 2 years ago. I paid 28,000 for it. I'm not a believer, but for God's sake, man, if GBTI can charge $200 to their customer for their bank account, why the minibus man can't charge $100 more? Why the speedboat man can't? They are living in Guyana, and they have to buy things for their kids and their family, and those things cost more. It's a different problem if you're saying the government responsible. It's not. It's the global economy that is sending these prices up. But that should not prevent anyone in Guyana from denying the minibus owner and the speedboat owner from increasing their price. These people have to buy things just like us. But GBTI's profit increased 5 years ago,
By
3 years
billions,
ago,
by
2
billions.
years. And they can charge people, ordinary public servants, soldiers that have their account there.
And not just the profit, Freddie.
No, something is wrong there.
GBTI, the amount of deposits being made in GBTI, or the amount of people who carry their
They
money
don't have
there,
to charge people
that
$200.
has increased. GBTI asset formation has also increased. In other words, GBTI getting richer and richer, and on top of that, that policy, that $200 policy per month, will disproportionately affect poor people,
poor
especially working people like teachers and nurses. You know what happened to a lot of nurses and teachers? When the government deposit their salary in their account, they check in their account every day to see, hey, we get paid today, and by the time you're here, we get paid today, the 20th. These people line up at the ATM to take out all their money and leave only $1,000 that is required to keep your account up, either $1,000 or $500. But these people wait and take out all their money to go and pay rent and light bill and all of that. And essentially, what GBTI is saying, that the $500, the $1,000, that the poor, the working class man left in their account, they are going to take out $200 from that. You realize how ridiculous? A month? Every month, that's what I'm saying. You realize how ridiculous? They didn't even say anybody with a balance of over $1 million, we're going to take out $200. So that the richer people who could afford it and who mightn't even mind the $200 because they got $1 million and more in their account. They apply this across the board, and there's some very ordinary working class people who it's the $200 sound like, oh, $200 you could buy is a bottle of water. But to some working class people, ordinary teachers, nurses, policemen, that is a lot of money. And I am asking, I'm calling on the government, I'm calling on the president right now. If the legislation allow it, we probably got to go to Parliament with an emergency legislation and prevent it. But I think it is just the Bank of Guyana rules got to change to stop that.
But you think
I think the Bank of Guyana got regulatory power, and the rules, they just got to write the rules. Dr. Gobin Ganga, stop this thing now.
No. That $200 with GBTI that drop in the ocean, you better hold on. Better hold on to your seat when I tell you what Scotia has done and have done it the past 3 years. Every bank account, $1 million and below, has to pay $1,000 either a month or a year, I don't know which one, to keep it intact. Once it's $1 million and below, they're taking $1,000 out of that account. That horrendous, unconscionable act by Scotia has been allowed to continue. Any human being can see that affects poor.
Only poor people, yes.
And how the government allowed that, I didn't know how that passed.
I mean, and I keep saying almost all the policies in Guyana that the banks come up with disproportionately affect poor people. Almost all the policies. If you got a small business and you collect a check for $300,000, you know, your little contractor, you collect a check for $300,000 on a Thursday afternoon.
You gotta wait 4 days.
Yes. And you got workers to pay Friday. And you collect this check Thursday, you gotta wait till next week, Tuesday. And you gotta go and borrow money from another source to pay your workers for Friday. Or you gotta go and dig out this money or something. I mean, whereas now, if a richer person or a bigger business brings in a check of, let's say, $5 million, it goes on something you call special clearance. And by the very afternoon, you have your money in your account.
I got news for you.
By the very afternoon. And again, I'm saying all these policies disproportionately affect ordinary working class people.
You understand, we have an opposition. Let's see, it's AFC, PNC, WPA, Forward Guyana. Have you ever heard during the election time they ever talk about those things? And it could have brought them votes.
Yeah.
Have you? That is one of the mysteries I don't understand.
To his credit, in a way, Ganesh Mahipal,
he ever talked about that?
Brought up the issue of when you receive money when you receive your salary, they take out $60. and they call it a transfer fee as for receiving a deposit electronically on your behalf. And he raised that issue with respect to the cash grant, and he showed that $60. But he directed his argument towards the government as if the government is doing that to people.
It's a ban.
You understand what I'm saying?
Ignorance.
He was right in raising the issue,
Ignorance,
but
huh?
because they have this poisonous anti-PPP, anti-government, that was a good fight, but the fight was directed in the wrong direction.
But you realize something is going on here that makes the opposition and the private press so morally reprehensible. That man, Mr. Anderson, Justice Anderson, that man went to Aubrey Norton with good intentions of helping Guyana by saying, look, you know, this thing has been going on a long time. You know, your opposition leader helped out the confirmation of these two highest judicial officials. He was doing something for Guyana. The man is the highest judicial officer for Guyana. The man said, maybe I should have publicly called for that. But the intention was pure, and
Yeah.
intention was good for Guyana. They're making it out as if the man went and doing this thing on behalf of the president, on behalf of the government. That man must have said to himself, what a degenerate
So
set of people
what
Guyana
happened with
has.
happened with Mr. Justice Anderson is that he don't quite understand Guyana and
he
Guyanese.
didn't. The man think we have
And
everybody here civilized.
he think people are reasonable, and because he don't understand that in Guyana is where, and I said it on this program, I wrote in my article, that this is where professional careers come to die. You know, you bring world-class autopsy people, you hear these people corrupt. You bring world-class judges, they corrupt.
You're
You
talking
hear-
about salvage company.
Right.
They're in for some licks.
Exactly. So the point I'm making is this is where professional career, and I think Justice Anderson didn't understand that.
No, he didn't.
And because of his lack of understanding of how Guyana operate, he found himself in a bind. And I think he himself realized it. It is one of those oopsie moments. And I think he realized it, and I think he would be,
But
he would act differently in the future. And as he himself has admitted.
But
that,
I know some people came here and found out how toxic the politics is and said, listen, we come from CARICOM, sponsored by CARICOM to do a job in Guyana, and we don't care what y'all say, we doing it. Those were the recount people from CARICOM in the election. Those people said, y'all not going to intimidate us, we come to do a job. The people back, bam, 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 count the votes, make the report and say this thing reflect a genuine election results, send in the report, gone. But Anderson didn't understand.
There is something I'd like to touch on quickly, and that is the president wrote the opposition leader to name people to the statutory constitutional commission, the local government commission, the public service commission, and the judicial service commission. And on two of those commissions, the opposition leader had to name somebody to sit on those commissions. I think the local government commission is 3 persons, the public service commission 2. And I don't think he had to name anybody for the Judicial Service Commission. But the consultation was required. And the opposition leader named people from WIN and Forward Guyana and left out the PNC. And again, I'm saying on this program, I don't understand how PNC people are seeing it. Whenever you cooperate with Win, it's to your detriment.
I think Ghanaians should understand that.
You cause
and Dorwain Bess.
Win cause you to pull you out, draw you out. People pressure you to say, oh, you're not cooperating with them, and they draw you to Linden, and then lose you while. And they make the PNC made commitments to say everywhere the president go, we're gonna go. Everywhere they show up, we're gonna show up. And what happened to it done already? You see how Azure didn't draw y'all into and left y'all. Azure didn't never say everywhere they show up, we're gonna show up, you know. It's the PNC run and set up. And them is showing up, and the president going all over the place. And them is showing up. Y'all, do you guys really understand politics? That Win is not interested in cooperating with y'all. Win is interested in breaking up. That's what Win interested in. And if the PNC can't see that, if Terence Campbell and David Hines and Aubrey Norton can't see that, something is wrong. It is to your detriment. The PNC has got to make itself stronger. I got a menu of things I could do to make itself stronger.
They gonna pay you?
And win your support. If I give them things, they got to pay me, yes. But they got many of things the PNC could do. But, and again, just before you come in, this tin in cup opposition cannot work. Tin cup opposition, song and dance, and name calling will not work. Freddie.
I got some advice for them. I think I would want some money for it. But I'm not insistent on it. They should give me something, especially Terence Campbell, who got places that sell chocolate and ice cream. Here was my advice to them. You are going to win. You cannot lose. If you say something that grates the nerves, that hits the psyche of hundreds of thousands of decent Guyanese, step back, and those people deserve an apology from you. Give them the apology and you will win. Terence Campbell's behavior in Melanie was disgraceful. James Bond is not the parliamentary leader of a political party. He's a backbencher. Terence Campbell is the de facto leader of a historic party and the leader of that historic party's parliamentary group. When he said those words, it was unbecoming. Just go out there and to a million Guyanese say, look, in the heat of the moment, I got carried away. That's not who I am. Those words, that's not who I am, has reverberating positive effect. Amanza Walton, I'm not saying deserve because I was informed that she dropped her married name. When she said the government refused offers of divers for the ferry disaster, it wasn't true. Just said that
No, she's not the one who said that. It was the PNC people.
It was Director Finance Sherrod Duncan
Mm-hmm.
and Psycho Andrew. Sorry, Amanza, my apologies. I mistook. Well, that was a genuine apology. I apologize. What the PNC should have done to those three people, say, listen, say you make a mistake, say it was a wrongful, some confusion, and apologize. But how could people have lost their lives, more than 100? And you said the government refused divers. It was a mistake and just apologize. I'm saying to you before the program ends, and you don't have to pay me. This is solid advice from somebody who've lived in Guyana a long time and been in politics for 58 years. Go out there and say you're sorry, and you will win. We gotta go. The last word from
one quick thing. The last time I criticized Dr. Adams, I come in for a tongue lashing on AFC letterhead. But I gotta criticize him again. He went on a program and he said concerning the oil revenue that even though the recovery costs was met on a couple of the thing. Guyana is still not getting 50%. The truth is, people, there will always be costs, something you call operation costs. There are two parts in the cost, the operation costs and the recovery costs. But there will always be operation costs. And even though the recovery cost is met, the diver got to get money, the man on the engine thing, the man pumping up the oil got to be paid, and electricity costs, and the helicopter that flying out there to carry employees. There is always an operation cost. That when that is removed, then is when the 50% kick in, the 50% you call profit oil. And as it is right now, 20% or thereabout of the total oil coming in, about 20% of that money goes back into running the operation and bringing up the oil. And 80% is, about 80% is what the profit is. And that is split half and half between the government and the thing. And we get about 40 and they get about 40.
Before we go, why since 2020 Adams has been living outside of Guyana? He doesn't like Guyana? Could you answer that?
I'm not getting into the man's personal life.
Those are personal. When
he wants to be an activist from afar.
But that's the answer.
That is there.
He wants to be an activist, not personal. If you're criticizing the democracy and the government of Guyana, you must be part of the social milieu. We will see you on Friday. Thanks for being with us. Catch you later. Bye-bye.